back-to-back hot like Denver's never seen this early in the year. We look at whether energy companies will turn up our bills like they did during the deep freeze. They're after that cake baker again, even after the Supreme Court said lay off, and this time he's lost in court. Your next question has us wondering about whether the vaccine really works for people who take a common type of medication. Denver looks to get more hands-on about what kind of homes can go where. And our old friend, the train to the plane, needs a new naming sponsor. No, we're not going to do that. Well, we might do that, because this is next. 2 days in a row of 100 degrees, earliest in the year that's ever happened in Denver. In addition to the energy that people are spending complaining, we are also spending a lot of energy to cool our homes this week. Led our Marshall Zellinger to wonder if energy companies might use this as another opportunity to buy up natural gas at ridiculous prices and then try to pass that cost along to you.
That is the sound of relief, at least for us. Not these AC units, which are sure getting worked hard this week. But according to Xcel Energy in Black Hills, this heat has not resulted in anything out of the ordinary, like multiple days of cold weather did in February.
I don't anticipate it ever being exactly the way that we had an instance in February, but there are times where we do sometimes compensate and purchase energy on the market in the summer.
In February, Xcel and Black Hills needed to buy natural gas in the moment at really high prices because many companies needed natural gas in the moment. Needing to buy electricity in the moment does not appear to be a concern, even with repeat 100-degree days with 90-degree encores.
We could actually reach all the way to California sometimes and possibly purchase energy from some of the energy that they're generating as well, and vice versa.
So how does that work exactly? Ian Lang from the Colorado School of Mines helped me understand how energy can be shared with Colorado and not shared with Texas, which helped spur the February natural gas price spike.
Texas's grid is not connected really to the rest of the U.S. Our grid is connected all to the Western Interconnect in Colorado. We could pull power. Washington can send up power a little bit east, and then Idaho can send a little bit east, and then and so eventually it would get to us. Obviously, you wouldn't send power directly, say, from Seattle to Colorado, but everybody would push a little east, right, and then could get some here if need be. Where I said Texas, since it's on a different interconnect, it basically couldn't ask for Oklahoma or Arkansas to help out.
And unlike the winter, when more people rely on natural gas for heat, in the summer, if there's an urgent need for energy, companies like Xcel have multiple options.
We could buy electricity or gas, right, because we can buy the gas to run our power plants, or we could buy electricity straight.
This is the year I learned so much about energy, electricity, natural gas. One thing that's different, Kyle, summer versus winter. In the summertime now, you can either buy that natural gas to create more electricity, or you can buy that electricity straight, whereas what we just heard in the wintertime, especially in February, everybody needed that one thing, natural gas.
I learn something new every day from your reports, Marshall, and today I learned that the Canadian province of Quebec has a separate energy grid, much like Texas. What is it with these areas that are like, if you make me mad, I will secede? They apparently want their own power systems.
I found it fascinating that we had so much we could go with the Western. You'd think I would know this by now, but I'm just learning this today. And I knew from February Texas was on its own. And as you said, I learned Quebec over there is now on its own. Eastern, if there's anything wrong on anywhere else in the U.S., you're set. It's at least we've got this Western compact, and Texas is just the buffer in between.
Once again, answering the questions that people have. Are we going to get soaked for energy this week? Marshall, thank you. The former head of the Colorado Republican Party, Ryan Call, did not like Donald Trump, at least not lately. He opposed his re-election in 2020. And today we learned the former GOP chair, Ryan Call, is accused of taking money from a pro-Trump super PAC that he used to work for. In a complaint that Marshall tracked down for us, Ryan Call is accused of siphoning more than $270,000 to himself over a 3-year period. Call served as the chair of the Colorado GOP from 2011 to 2015. He then went to work as an attorney for a firm called Hale Westfall. The super PAC Rebuilding America Now retained Call and his firm in 2016. Call then served as the group's treasurer. The super PAC accuses Call of embezzling $250,000 from them by trying to disguise the funds as payments from his law firm. We reached out to Call and have not heard back. The cake baker from Lakewood, who has been pursued for years from court to court for his refusal to create cakes he says violates his religious beliefs. he lost a new court case today. Once more, Masterpiece Cake Shop's Jack Phillips was sued after he turned down an order. This time around, it was for a cake for a gender transition celebration. Suit was brought by an attorney, Autumn Scardina, who's transgendered. She said that she tried to get him to make this cake. Both times he refused, citing his religious beliefs. Now, you may remember Phillips made a similar argument in 2012 when he refused to bake a wedding cake, for a gay couple. The couple then filed a complaint with the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. Case eventually made its way to the Supreme Court, where the justices partially sided with the cake baker, with Phillips. They said the Colorado Civil Rights Commission showed a hostility toward religion. In this newest case, this newest ruling, a Denver District Court judge decided that Phillips' shop violated Colorado's anti-discrimination law by refusing to bake the gender transition cake. Once again, Phillips plans to appeal. 2.8 million Coloradans have now completed the vaccination process. That is 47.7% of the state population. If you, like me, are looking at these numbers and your eyes go blurry every night, we can tell you that the vaccination rate has ticked up 0.2% since yesterday. Tonight's next question is about immunosuppressive drugs and their impact on vaccines. Pamela and Jeffrey wrote in wondering if rheumatoid arthritis treatment, infusions, and medications can negate the protections of the COVID vaccines. Questions popped up a couple of times, and Pamela specifically said she got tested for antibodies and they didn't show up. So we went to Dr. Lisa Davis, specialist in rheumatology at Denver Health, and she said, first off, it's not clear that antibodies are the strongest indicator of resistance to COVID. But she says there is some level of concern if somebody's been vaccinated and those antibodies are not showing up in tests.
You were asking if somebody had infusions for their rheumatoid arthritis, if that could impact their ability to respond to the vaccine. And the answer is yes, we think so. So if somebody is receiving monthly infusions for their rheumatoid arthritis, typically we're going to ask that they space out those infusions around the vaccine and also hold methotrexate, like the case you mentioned, about a week around the COVID vaccine so that somebody can develop a good response to it. When somebody actually has a good immune response to their COVID vaccine, the other thing I want to emphasize is that continuing to receive monthly infusions, that does not impact their response.
These are such common medications. We want to spend some time trying to explain this at length. Dr. Davis says even if your immune response is blunted, it is still recommended that you get the vaccine. Just make sure you're talking with your doctor about the timing of your vaccine and your immunosuppressants. Here's the deal. You got a question on any topic, I guarantee you are not the only Coloradan wondering about it. And we are in the business of answers delivered nightly. So record a video or voice memo of your question and email it to us at next@9news.com. I am so excited for your Word Thanks microgiving campaign this week because think about it. It's never easy to be the new kid anywhere, let alone being the new kid in a new state, in a new country. This week, together we are helping out a great nonprofit that uses the uniting power of sports to encourage kids, to make them feel welcome as they get used to life in Colorado. Soccer Without Borders is expanding its programs in Colorado, and we can be a part of that this week through Word of Thanks. Soccer Without Borders is a youth soccer program, after school, weekends, summers. It's for young people who are new to Colorado, refugees and immigrants. So while these kids are playing a sport that they quite often know and love, they are also learning English at the same time, which is often new to them. And the soccer program also serves as a way to connect those kids and their families to the support systems that they're going to need to get off to a successful start in Colorado. Soccer Without Borders has been around for about a decade, and right now it's expanding its work to more communities, from up in Weld County, Greeley area, to the Denver metro area. Their young participants have come to Colorado from 24 different countries, speaking 16 languages. Through a shared love of soccer, that nonprofit welcomes them to our community and connects their families with whatever they might need, whether it's career and job guidance, finding a place to live in Colorado, or language help for the adults. If you text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll send you that link to donate. I will never, ever ask you to give to a cause that I don't support myself, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5. Soccer Without Borders is such a natural and fun way to welcome kids who are new to Colorado and this country. And it'll be great to say that together, we help that nonprofit reach more families in our community. Hey, real quick, U.S. Open airs on 9 News tomorrow and Friday, so we are going to join you a little bit later for Next. Next is going to air at 8 p.m. tomorrow and at 7 p.m. on Friday. Our producer, Kevin, typically has his first margarita at about 6:15, which usually does not impact the quality of the show when it starts at 6 and ends at 6:30, but we're just going to have to see what happens tomorrow and Friday. Changing who lives where based on how much they make.
That's huge for a city to even take a look at it and prioritize it.
Huge and difficult to accomplish.
It's probably one of the hardest things to do.
And the train formerly known as the Hot Mess Express is running on time almost all the time now, but it needs a new name. What do you think we should call the A-Line? Next. City of Denver wants more say in redevelopment plans as the city rapidly changes and gentrifies in places. Anusha Roy looks at what's being called an equity plan. It's an idea that even its supporters say is going to be a challenge.
A community is organizing to protect itself.
We're at the cusp, and that's why we want to see changes before we turn into one of these communities.
And Jill Fother, a Montbello community leader, talked about the years of changes and more in the works.
The ripple effect actually started with the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, when a lot of homes out in the 80239, the Montbello zip code, went into foreclosure and were purchased by outside investors.
She said there's been disinvestment and some people forced out of the neighborhood.
The community doesn't feel taken care of, and so if they're able to leave, they will leave the community. If they stay, the morale is low.
Then people started to rally.
Nobody's coming to save you. You got to advocate for yourself.
Now Fother is paying close attention to the city's proposed plan to make rezoning in Denver more equitable. One example is working with future development projects to make sure they're meeting the needs of the community.
The project might commit to providing more open space.
This could be more affordable housing worked into new construction, addressing transportation access, job diversity, and daycares.
But this project will codify requirements for both a better process and for the standards that they can commit to through the process, to make it clearer for everyone what to expect.
The current rezoning criteria was mostly written in 2010, but some of the underlying concepts date as far back as the 1950s. Now the city is trying to make sure the rezoning laws match their more updated visions for a more equitable Denver.
You know, equity is not the same as equality.
Fother, who is excited to see this kind of work, also warned of the challenges.
Each neighborhood is different. It's is impacted different from the past zoning, regulations, and will be affected differently by changes. So we can't throw a blanket over the entire city.
The city agrees and wants to expand how people weigh in so more voices are heard.
We remain an optimistically cautious community.
So the plan is to launch in the fall, and then if things do move forward, this would start to apply to new rezoning projects later next year into 2023. And it is more than just development and construction. Another area the city's looking at is fees for rezoning and the fact that it's the same for an individual family or one of the bigger developers. So Kyle, the city's going to be looking at, is there a way to make even that entire process a little bit more equitable?
You know, Nusha, I think sometimes our work as journalists gives us a front row seat to how this process can be so broken. Like you'll hear a developer of the city say, "Oh, we're gonna hold some community forums," and they're like noon on a Wednesday. Like, who in the world can go to a forum at noon on a Wednesday other than like the city, the developer, and a bunch of journalists? That's an accessibility issue.
It's a huge accessibility issue. It's the barrier, right? Because that requires possibilities of childcare or taking time off of work, which is just not a reality for everyone. And so one of the things the city said they could look at is having, let's say, a developer meet with community members ahead of time, get their feedback, work that into their plan, and then go to the city with their application process, basically trying to open this whole thing up to the community so they can actually make it to those meetings. You know, Kyle, we did reach out to a couple of developers today, and so far we've only heard back from one who said it's just a little too early to be able to weigh in on this because it's such a new plan.
Just getting started. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you, Anusha. Good stuff. The University of Colorado A-Line is losing the confusing University of Colorado bit since it's not where the train goes. So it's time for some new name ideas. accept that idea, not that idea. We're not going to do that again. And all of us humans complaining about the heat, we had nothing on them. The most Colorado thing we saw today. Next. The A-Line train's been called a lot of things. Last couple of years, you could call it really reliable. When it first started, people called it a piece of surely the strangest name was its official title, the University of Colorado A-Line, because the train to the plane never went to the University of Colorado, any of the campuses. Kind of an odd sponsorship. Now ending. CU's not renewing the naming rights deal. No. Nope. Not doing this. That was a few years and a few pounds ago that we did that on a train. But you're a smart bunch. What should they rename the train to the plane? I kind of love it. It's like a great comeback story, a success story now, rising from the ashes of unreliability. They could call it the Phoenix, except people think the train goes to Phoenix. You're better at this than me. A-Line train names. Email next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext.
Cover, smoke, haze, poor air quality, and oh yeah, we broke another record today. 100 in Denver, the old record 96 degrees, triple-digit highs in eastern Colorado, western Nebraska, and Kansas, and that big blocking ridge of high pressure with us for one more day, and then a cool front will bring in more moisture for thunderstorms and bring temperatures down 10 degrees on Friday, but we've got to get to Friday. Tonight, partly cloudy and 66, winds light out of the southeast. Tomorrow, the record is 98, will come very close to breaking that, and then a cooling trend. 80s for Friday, thunder showers Saturday, Father's Day on Sunday, and the summer solstice, and temperatures a whole lot cooler on Monday with a second strongest front that could bring cool weather for the first full day of summer.
I'm a fan of the most Colorado thing we saw today, and so is the turkey, a domesticated bird which spends hot days in front of the fan that its owner puts out so that it doesn't pant in the heat. I didn't know that turkeys panted. Now we know. Our viewer Julie spotted this in Denver. And poor squirrels, it's a tough time to be fuzzy, so they sprawl like a flying squirrel, but on the ground and without the in-air benefit of the breeze on their nether regions. My favorite word of thanks micro-giving campaigns are the ones where we learn about the nonprofit, and it's just like, oh, that's a cool idea. I never would have thought of that. One of those, plus your feedback on Quebec. Next. $5 at a time, you've done $4 million worth of good for nonprofits in our state. Soccer Without Borders is a simple, beautiful idea. They connect kids in the Denver metro area and Weld County who are new to America, refugees and immigrants, kids who often know a lot more soccer than they do English. And then Soccer Without Borders teaches them both soccer and English at the same time. And the nonprofit connects their families with help too, like language learning or help finding housing, career advice. If you text THANKS to 303-871-1491, I'll send you that link to join me and a bunch of other great people in helping Soccer Without Borders expand its work in our state. I love learning from you each night. Aaron wrote in to explain why Quebec, like Texas, has its own energy grid, and what he wrote checks out, so I wanted to share it with you. Aaron says the Quebec grid has a lot to do with the nationalization of energy distribution through Hydro-Quebec. Clean hydro gives both the Quebecois the lowest energy rates, but also generates billions for the government coffers each year in sales outside of Quebec. I just thought it was like a separatist thing. They wanted to be apart, but apparently they've got a really great hydro system up there. So thank you to Aaron for making me smarter about this, and now you in return. It's kind of a cool thing we got going on here. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.